Welcome back to Geared Up. I'm Todd Bishop.
I'm Andrew Edwards.
We have just been poring over Apple's financials for its second quarter.
Just came out.
It's March quarter. And there's some interesting trends in the iPhone sales. Let's take a step back and look at some of the rumors that have been coming out over the past few weeks. There have been discussions of Apple cutting the production, the total number of devices of iPhone 10s that it produces, which I think plays into this larger narrative that the iPhone 10 has not been as successful as people would have expected. But you look at these results, Apple sold 52.2 million iPhones, and they say the biggest selling of those iPhones was the iPhone 10.
Correct.
So what's going on here, Andrew?
I think there's a few ways to look at this. Number one, the iPhone 10 is the best-selling iPhone every week since its release. So that's a fact Apple stated. But Apple released 3 new phones instead of 2. So if one more than 1/3 makes it the best, it would still be selling worse than 50% or 51. You know what I mean? So
I'm
if
not
there's only
that, actually.
if there's only 2 phones released and 51-49, let's just say the 8 Plus is selling 51% and the 8 is selling 49%. If there's 3, you only need to sell 34% to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it could still be selling less than last year's best-selling phone, but there's 3 phones now.
They're slicing up the market among more phones, so you're going to have less market share relative to each other. So it might not be as popular as past flagship iPhones. That said, it seems like overall this device is doing well.
In other words, I bet every other phone company wishes it had a phone that sold as well as the quote-unquote flop iPhone 10.
So overall, the company beat earnings expectations with $61 billion in revenue, and shares are up 4%. So the stock market is reacting positively to this.
That's ridiculous. 52.2 million phones. A quarter is 3 months. Like, they're selling over 200 million phones in a year. So I don't see where the worry or problem is. People have been saying Samsung released a part of its earnings or statement the other day that its earnings wouldn't be what they were expected to be due to lower sales on OLED screens, right?
Right.
Now, the iPhone 10 has an OLED display in it, which Apple buys from Samsung, but so do all the Samsung phones. So that could also just imply that Samsung's own phones are not selling as well, but everyone took it to mean, oh, look, Apple's phones are not selling that well.
Right.
I don't know.
So you're still convinced that the iPhone has some growth in it, it has a future in it, and especially the iPhone 10.
I mean, I'm just looking at these numbers. Like, if you look at all the facts are in the numbers. Like, everybody speculates when they see, okay, they're lowering production, which Apple does after every holiday quarter. They lower production on the latest phone every time. It's just clockwork. But every time people are saying, oh, look, they're lowering. That must mean it's not selling well. Like, all this stuff is speculation, but then when the numbers come out, the numbers are the facts. So when you go by the numbers, it appears that people still want to buy an iPhone. It's just, in my opinion, like my wife, she had an iPhone 10 for about a week. She didn't want it. She wanted an 8 Plus. She wanted the home button. She wanted the interface that she was used to. I think and that's why Apple did this. They were like, okay, here we're introducing our new vision for iOS with the 10. Everyone's going to be able to see this new vision for at least a year. If you want the old way, we're giving you that too, but at least there's something new coming. And I think that's it. Like, some people like the home button. Some people don't. Some people want the latest and greatest. Some people don't. That's just it.
Here's another interesting thing that I just spotted. So if you go down to the year-over-year change in iPhone sales, units, in other words, the total number of units sold, is up 3%. Revenue, what would you guess revenue is? I'm going to block my screen.
Okay.
So they sold 3% more devices.
3% more devices.
How much more money did they make on the top line revenue?
Okay, what I'm thinking about in my head is that the 8 and 8 Plus are $50 more per unit this year than the 7s were, but the 10 is $300 more. So, if what was the old number?
Well, it was 3%. Well,
3%. I would say
in units.
I would say there is an increase by 6%.
Not even close. 14% increase in revenue.
What?
On the iPhone line, they went from last quarter, a year ago's quarter, about $33.2 billion in revenue to about $38 billion in revenue this time. So
what does that tell you then?
So they're clearly selling a ton of iPhone 10s.
That is exactly what that means. Because I was being, I was thinking, okay, if the iPhone 10 is the 35% and with the other two, there would be a marginal increase and there should be an increase. I don't know. This says to me that there's no problem.
To me, the bigger question is, can Apple come up with the next game-changing invention? And I think potentially AR, VR is it, but it'll be interesting to see. Right now, they're basically living off of the fumes of the businesses that were built in the Steve Jobs era. And the question is, can they create the new businesses that will ensure their future? And so that's the big question. All right, so that is a quick rundown of Apple earnings, including some live analysis of the percentage changes in revenue and unit sales. How often do you get that?
Never. Never with us. It's the first time.
All right, so that is Geared Up for this week. Until next time, I'm Todd Bishop.
I'm Andrew Edwards.
Don't forget, by the way, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to subscribe to the dedicated Geared Up feed if you want to continue getting the show long term.
That's right.
We'll talk to you next week on Geared Up. Thanks for listening.